surprised at what made top 10 and what didn't. It was very humbling for me to count out how many books of mine I have not yet read. I don't want to talk about it, okay? I don't want to talk about it. It's just so exhausting. Oh my god, no pictures, please. Yelling at them, just leave, get out, like leave now. We don't need to go through all this. Why are you heading towards trauma on purpose? I love you too. You're literally sunshine as a person, but thank you so much. Hey y'all, it's Kalia Monique. My first name's Kalia, my middle name's Monique. It's Kalia Monique. I am so excited to share today's video with you all. Today I will be ranking all the books that I read in 2021, and I read 116 books in 2021, which, considering I am coming out of a 5-year-long slump, go off, sis. I'm proud, but also, how? Like, there's just some of those months that, like, how did you do that? Anyways, with no further ado, let's go ahead and hurry up and get into these rankings, because like I said, there's 116 books I need to discuss. Or not discuss. There's 116 books I need to bring up to y'all. I will not be going in depth about every single book because there is 116 of them. I'm going to keep saying that because I really needed to hit you. I need you to understand that no, there's literally not enough hours in the day for me to individually discuss the synopsis and my thoughts and opinion about every single book I read last year. No one has time for that. I don't want to edit that. You guys don't want to watch that. So, with no further ado, let's go ahead and hurry up and get into ranking these books. Alright, so y'all are up close and personal right now, but let's get into it. At this point, I'm the small screen, so hopefully it's not too invasive. But yeah, let's go ahead and talk about my rankings. Then we can go ahead and get started on actually ranking the books. Now, first up, from least favorite to favorite, we have Oh Hell Nah. And that basically means I am upset that I read this book. Like, wow, was this... I truly enjoyed no parts of it. And honestly, why didn't I just DNF? Like, honestly, I regret not DNFing this book. Next up, we have Actually No Thank You. And this means this book just wasn't for me. I don't regret reading it. Honestly, I feel bad that I don't like it, but it just was not for me. I still respect the author and all that they've done. Appreciate the work you put into it. Just was not for me. Next up, we have Nothing to Write Home About. There's nothing to write home about. I barely remember the main character's first name. I don't remember the love interest. I don't remember their mama's name. I don't know them. I don't remember this book very much. It's just fading in the background of all the great reads that I've read. Next up, we have I Thank You for Your Time. This is me giving roses to the author for the work they have put in with this book. I really appreciate this book. I like this book. I really enjoyed it. Loved my time with this book. It was just a great time, thoroughly enjoyed. Next up, we have I'd Die on This Hill. I will die defending this main character. I will die defending this author. At the end of the day, when the time is here and the world is ending, save this author, okay? They need to be preserved and protected at all costs. And if I need to be the one that protects them, I'm going to do that. Because, man, not only do I value your work, but your work has impacted me in such a way that I don't know where I would be without this read. Like, it just is such an amazing experience that I've had. It ignites so much passion in me. Like, I will die defending this book. With no further ado, I guess let's get into it. And I'm very excited because this video, or this activity, is actually going to help me to decide what my top 10 of the year were. And yeah, if you guys are watching this, that video has already been posted, so you can go ahead and follow the cards and watch that after this video. But I don't yet know what books are on that video, so we're about to find out. I mean, if you've already seen that video, then you already know, but I'm about to find out. I also do have some wine. Yeah, at some point this is gonna get real hard to do, and it's gonna be really hard to differentiate between my thoughts between certain books, and I'm gonna need to be tough. The wine is here to do that, because we all know I'm indecisive. So first and foremost, in no particular order, we have A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas. I really enjoyed my time with this book. It was nice because it was not my introduction, but I got to come back into the world of ACOTAR while reading this book. It was the greatest. So I'm going to put it in. I thank you for your time. There's nothing, yeah, I wouldn't die on the hill for this book, but it is actually the book that got me out of my reading slump. It was the very first, or not the very first book I read this year, but it was the second book I read this year. It was the first book that got me out of my reading slump. I truly felt motivated to read more from, after reading this book, and it reminded me of when I first read the first 3 books in the ACOTAR series and the novella. I was sent back to that time. It made me want to read more. It was just, love it. I also really love Nesta as a main character. I love her as a character, period. I don't know if I was necessarily team Nesta prior to reading this book, but I definitely didn't like when people hated Nesta. I was like, I don't understand the need to hate her. But it was great to have a main character who I truly did love. I love Nesta. I grew to really love Nesta. And then for her to... I think this was the first character that I truly loved, but didn't agree with for everything. She definitely had moments. She definitely had times where I was like, why would you do that? We're all trying to root for you, sis. But that made reading this so much better, and it was so greatly crafted, and I loved so many side characters in this book. It was a great time. I thank you for your time. I'm not going to die on the hill for you, but I thank you for your time. I appreciate you, boo. Next up, we have Kingdom of Flesh and Fire by JLA. Now, when I first read the trilogy, I don't know why the second book is the first one here, but when I first read the first 3 books of this series, it's not a trilogy. I don't know why I said trilogy, but when I first read From Blood and Ash and then Kingdom of Flesh and Fire, I thoroughly enjoyed these books. I was they were books that were kind of thick and they were kind of chunky books, but I just wanted to read more and more, and I was just so entranced by the world and so in love with the characters that I just it makes me think. I still think about the characters after I read them, and I read that at the beginning of 2021. It is now not nearing, it is now, time has passed is the point, and I still think about these characters. I like the character development in these books. However, when I think about these books now, and I think, again, I was drawn mainly to the character development and the characters in these books. Now I think about the characters, and I am upset with how I don't know why I'm sugarcoating things. I'm mad that every black character is subservient to somebody. It makes me angry. Now it makes me angry. And it's not something that I had noticed before, because honestly, I was confused. Like I said, when I read these books, I was coming out of the slump, so it's not like I was paying all that much attention to the books. But when I think about it, Kieran and his people, so all the people that I forget, Wolven. Oh my god. The Wolven were literally all black, or mainly black characters, and they were subservient to the Atlanteans Tawny is literally Poppy's maid, and those are the only black characters. I don't like that. Maybe there was an Atlantean or two that was black. Point is, the majority of them was subservient to somebody else, and that really irks me. I am very upset because I would love to reread the books, but if I'm reading them for, not for the first time, but if I'm reading them again and I see that, I'm going to just be upset. I am upset that I read these books because of how much I did enjoy them at the time, and I can't reread them because I know that's just going to ruin how I felt about the books at the time. I still love Kieran dearly. I actually prefer Kieran to Castile. Like, I always was like, okay, but mysterious man over there, let's talk more about him. And I'm not gonna continue, so I'm not gonna be able to continue that story. That makes me very sad. So we're in the oh hell no. That's oh hell nah. Honestly, Jelly got me fucked up. So next up, on a whole nother note, we have Miss Amari. Amari and the Night Brothers by B.B. Alston. I love Amari with my whole heart. This is my little sister. Oh my god, the world is a better place because Amari is in it. I cannot wait for the second book. Of course, I will die on the hill. I will die on this hill. I will fight literally anyone that tries to harm Amari. Let me into this world. I'm a danger to anybody that tries to hurt Amari, okay? Also, protect B.B. Alston at all costs. I don't care about anything else in the world. Protect B.B. Alston, please. Next up, we have Anna K., A Love Story by Jenny Lee. I love this book. I can't explain why I love this book so much. It was just a great, fun, not too serious, but also it had its moments of making me cry time. I thank you for your time. You were great to me. You did me well, Anna K. Appreciate you. It honestly, rich people nonsense. It was great. Next up, we have The Assassin's Blade by Sarah J. Maas. This book devastated me. I constantly tell people that there is only 4 novellas because that fifth one, why? It did not need to hurt that damn bad. And the fact that y'all that read the books as they came out, you knew how Assassin's Blade was gonna end, and then you still read it? Oh no, I can't imagine that life. It made me excited to read the Throne of Glass series, but that freaking 5th novella broke me. Like literally as I'm reading, talking about, no, just no, please stop. Like it was a moment. Next up, we have the Bromance Book Club by Alyssa K. Adams. I know a lot of people really loved this book, really enjoyed it. It was a cute moment. I will say I liked the, what was her name? Well, see, that is exactly why it is actually in Nothing to Write Home About. I can't remember the, Athea? Nope, that's not her name. What was her name? Thea. I think it's Thea. But the female lead, or the love interest to the main character, I actually liked her more than the main character. I know that is an unpopular opinion, and I also actually like her sister. I mean, her sister just seemed like a 20-year-old, or however old she is, she just seemed very young, and yeah. But I did really love Thea, and to the point where the way the book ended and the way things were handled, I just feel like Thea's story was not delved upon as much as it should have been. Like, to the point where it just didn't make sense. Like, we would get glimpses of hearing about how her mother raised her and how her grandmother raised her to view men and everything. And that was great. And I wanted that to be delved upon. And I wanted some growth to show in how she was raised to think of men versus how she's dealt with this in her marriage and how she's trying to improve and how she's trying to move. But I needed more from her to the point where it made me angry that there is like a book within a book involved in this story, because I was like, you over here writing a book within a book. This story is not delved upon, and honestly, the book that's within the book is also essentially the exact book that I'm reading. Like, I don't understand why you had to tell me the same story twice just for Thea to then not actually have true character development. Like, it just, no. So, yeah, nothing to write home about. It was okay. It was cute. It was a cute moment, but nothing to really write home about. Next up, we have Concrete Rose by Angie Thomas. This is the prequel to The Hate U Give. It was a great time. This book actually had me crying in public. That wasn't a great time, but this book was. So it definitely goes to, I thank you for your time. If someone wasn't a fan of this book, I'd be like, oh, that's odd. I definitely recommend the audiobook for that one, by the way. The narrator did a great job. Next up, we have Crescent City. I believe this was the third book I read this year. After I finished A Court of Silver Flames, I was like, yes, I want to go right back into this mood of Sarah J. Maas, because clearly she is the one to get me out of these slumps. And so I read Crescent City. Really enjoyed it. Another book, I believe I did actually cry, and like right away, SJM held no punches with this one. But yeah, it was just really great. Really enjoyed my time. Again, it was a chunky book, but it made me excited to keep reading. So yeah, this book definitely, like, even though it's like a chunky book, it had me excited to keep reading, and it made me want to read more. So to the point where I was literally like, what are other books like this? And then I continued reading, and now I'm out of a slump, and it was great. Like, 113 books later, thank you so much, Crescent City. Next up, we have Darius the Great Is Not Okay. Darius the Great is not okay, and neither am I. This book, absolutely, I will die on the hill for this one. Oh my god. Okay, now this is where it gets difficult. I absolutely love Darius the Great Is Not Okay. I will never stop recommending this book to people. It honestly is just very heartwarming. I love Darius as a character. I think he is strong in such an underrated way. I can't wait to get it. Oh my gosh. Oh, perfect. Because Darius the Great deserves better. It's also right here. The way this character was developed from book 1 to book 2, the way he advocates for himself, the way he truly addresses his mental health and just his family dynamics, and it's just such a brutally honest character. Like, I just love Darius with all my heart, soul, and being. I love this character. I also have such a hard time differentiating between my love for book 1 and book 2. Yes, book 1 really warmed my heart, and I've genuinely never seen a book delve upon mental health and living with depression in such a beautiful sense. Like, Darius was just living with depression. It didn't consume him. Oftentimes with mental health representation, it is always the character at their absolute worst. It is when they're either just now finding out they have depression, or they're in a very deep and dark episode, like they're spiraling. It's just almost all consuming in the story, and I think that there is something to be said for those moments, and they're very valuable, and I really appreciate books that deal with them. But depression isn't something that happens episode after episode after episode. There are just sometimes where you're just living with your depression, and it impacts your thoughts, and it impacts the way you see yourself and your self-esteem and how you value yourself, but it's not a complete episode every single day. And I loved how Darius the Great depicted that. The place that Darius set himself in Darius the Great Deserves Better was so beautiful. The way he advocated for himself and those he loves, like, it's just, God, I love Darius so much as a character. Like, it honestly physically hurts. I want to know more about Darius. Like, I want to follow him into, like, after high school. I just need to know about his life. I love this character so much. Oh my god. Now that being said, I have no clue where to put these two books in relation to Amari. Because I genuinely would die for both of these characters. Like, they truly deserve to live more than I do. Like, they're just, they bring so much more value into the world than I do. Like, it just, okay. Oh my gosh. Okay. Oh god. Okay. Oh Lord. This is hard. Okay. Now, remembering that Darius the Great is not okay and Darius the Great deserves better, they are a package duo. They're one and the same, okay? Like, there's just, oh my god, and the friendship Darius developed in Darius the Great is not okay, the first book. Oh my god. Oh, such a cute friendship right there. By far my favorite friendship to exist in a book ever. Genuinely so pure and so cute. Oh, Jesus Christ, though. Where do I rate these? And see, here's the thing. They both provided me with representation. Like, Amari being the actual embodiment of Black girl magic and truly being a book that I wish I had when I was, like, her age. Like, when I was actually within, like, the age category of Amari and the Night Brothers, since it is middle grade. Like, I would have loved reading this when I was younger. But Darius, again, was just such a great depiction of mental health and living with depression, far greater than any book I had ever read before. Oh my god. I don't know. I think, okay, drink some wine. Drink some wine and your feelings will come true. I don't know. You'll feel things. I don't know. Okay. I know I might not always feel this way, but I'm going to keep it the way it is, with Amari being in front of Darius the Great is not okay, and Darius the Great deserves better. I do believe, just, again, Amari being the actual embodiment of Black girl magic, I don't think that anything can, I don't think anything can beat that. Next up, we have From Blood and Ash. I already discussed my opinions on this. This one, I think I actually gave 4.5 stars, or maybe 4 stars. I didn't like it as much as the the second and third book, but I still really enjoyed it. But now, like I said, JLA got me fucked up. Next up, Heartstopper. Oh my god, yes, I actually will I will die on this hill. I would, okay, no, I wouldn't. Let me explain. I love Nick and Charlie with my whole heart. I think when it comes to Volume 1, I thank you for your time. I really enjoyed my time with Volume 1. It gave me such warm and fuzzy feelings, especially with the way Volume 1 ended. I like how I still very much loved both characters and couldn't really get mad at a character for how they dealt with things. So yeah, thank you for your time, Alice Oseman. You have my heart. Like, I'm peeking you. Volume 2 of Heartstopper, so cute. Like, oh my god, this is a series that literally gets better as it goes. So Volume 2, as I'm thinking about it today, I honestly can't remember all that much about Volume 2, except that it gave me these warm, fuzzy feelings. It was like their very beginning of their relationship. It was so cute. I'm going to go ahead and again put this in. I thank you for your time. I'll fix the format of this in like a second when we get to the second row. But I thank you for your time. It was a great moment. I loved it. But Volume 3, I will die on the hill for this one. Stunning, fabulous. I loved every part of it. Nick and Charlie are so cute. I love where their relationship is at this moment. I can see where we're heading in the story, and I am not prepared. But I also I'm aching for Volume 4. Can Volume 4 please hurry up? Like, at the moment that I'm filming it, it has been released finally, but it has not yet been delivered to me. I just want this damn book. Volume 3, I absolutely will die on a hill for this one. And not only will I die on the hill for this one, like Nick and Charlie, I will defend them with my whole heart. Protect Alice Oseman, like all of it. Like genuinely, the fact that fictional characters can make me feel so much. Next up, we have Hidden Bodies. This is the second book in the You series trilogy. I don't know. I know that the third book came out in 2021. However, I'm not continuing with this series because the second book honestly made me so angry. Oh, hell no. Like, okay. Granted, in Caroline Kep's defense, she is not... Where do I want to put this? Okay. Very quickly. Quick note. We're doing it this way, if that makes sense. Like, so my least regarded book is going to be on this end. I don't hate Hidden Bodies. Like, technically Hidden Bodies didn't do nothing to me. However, I really can't stand the way the character Love was handled. The way Hidden Bodies ends is not the same as the second season of You. The second season of You arguably is not as good as the first season of You. The second season of You is so much better than the second book in this series, this trilogy, whatever this is. It is so much better. It is one of those very rare occasions where the show adaptation is actually better than the book. At the very least, at least the creators of the show, or whoever was in charge of the show's layout, at least they tried to explain why Love liked our good friend. I keep wanting to call him Dan Humphrey, and that's not his name. But Joe, and that's not even his name. What is his name in the second season? Whatever, it doesn't matter. At least they tried to explain why Love might love this man. Like you were like, oh, okay, I get it. I can see why she would be entranced by this man. The second book made her seem so docile, and it honestly doesn't make sense. Like, I don't know if she just felt like she had no other choices in the matter. I don't know what happened, but man, like, it honestly made me mad. Like, the way that the second book ended had me mad, because I was like, why are you with this man? Like, why? And you're about to go through all of this for what? So yeah, oh hell no. Honestly upset that I read that book. Oh, not to mention, because of my feelings of this book, I haven't finished the series of the books. Like, I don't know if I'm going to read this third book. I probably will not. And I can't get myself to watch the third season of You. Like, I think, because I actually ended up watching the Netflix series before I read the books. So I guess that was my first mistake. But like I said, the fact that the series, like the Netflix series that already is not that great, it's quite repetitive, and yet the Netflix series was better than the book. Like, how? Anyways, moving on. We have Homebody by Rupi Kaur. I have loved every single poetry collection this writer has ever put out. Like, I love them so much. They always mean so much to me. They always come at such a great time for me, of me truly needing to receive the message that Rupi Kaur is trying to deliver. Like, always, it's like magic. The years that I'm going through things is the years that she releases these poetry collections, and it's like they speak directly to what I'm going through in that moment. Also, yes, it was like the very first body of poetry that I read in the year, and it just was so refreshing and so great to read. I thank you for your time. Thank you so much, Rupi. Next up, we have If Bell Street Could Talk by James Baldwin. I love James Baldwin with my whole heart. He is one of my absolute favorite authors. I don't know if this is my favorite book of his, or even my favorite thing that he's ever written, so I definitely think, like, always will give roses to James Baldwin. May he rest in peace. Like, I just, oh my god, love everything James Baldwin has ever written. Everything that I have read of his, that he has written. Like, I just love James Baldwin. I can't wait to see what book I choose for this year of his to read. Love him. Love his work. Really appreciate the story. Man, was it a great one. Next up, I have Ironheart, Riri Williams. This is a comic book featuring basically the black girl Iron Man. I loved my time here. I think, oh my goodness, haven't been, oh lord. Oh no, guys, I haven't been putting these in order. Okay. Actually, you know what? Ironheart is probably in Nothing to Write Home About, but it's definitely higher than Bromance Book Club, if I'm being completely honest with myself. I read a lot of graphic novels and comic books and like mangas this year. Or not a lot, but I read more than I have in previous years, and that one doesn't stand out of all of them. Next up, we have Lore by Alexandra Bracken. I really enjoyed this book when I read it. So we're going to go with Thank You for Your Time. However, as the time has passed in the year, it's not one of the best books I've read. Now, at the time when I read it, I absolutely would have said it was the best book that I had read at the time. Like, it was everything I needed and more. Oh my gosh. The feelings that I felt, just a lot. Like, such a great book. Next up, we have Monday's Not Coming by Tiffany D. Jackson. Y'all know, it's Tiffany D. Jackson. I will die on the hill for this one. Protect this woman at all freaking cost. Go ahead and move everything down. I love Amari with my whole heart. Darius, I love you. Nick and Charlie, I love you dearly. Boo boo. But Monday is Not Coming. Broke me, shattered me, destroyed me. I am a whole new woman after reading this dang book. This, wow, stunning. Absolutely stunning. I remember I was finishing up this book, and the Amazon person actually called me because they were having a hard time delivering my package, needed some extra help. So they called me. I'm like crying, but I'm like, hello, yes, what can I help you with? Oh, okay, I'll come find you. So I have my mask on. So all you really see in my face is that it's red. My eyes are puffy and red. And I looked a mess. Like, literally the worst part of my face was showcased because I had my mask on. And then I went out and got my package from this Amazon person who probably was concerned for me. But no, not to fret. I just finished Monday's Not Coming. And decided on that day that Tiffany D. Jackson is absolutely one of my absolute favorite authors to exist in this world. Man, that woman is great. Next up, we have Nubia Real One. Now this is a comic series, or not a comic series, but it's a comic book that I read, of course, in 2021. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I love the representation in this book. Where does it line up, though? I really love this book. I actually would put it above Concrete Rose. Next up, we have Friday the Orange Tree. This was actually the very first book I finished this year. Yeah, I actually started this book in 2020. And I finished it in 2021. That's all we're going to say about that. It's a great book. I really enjoyed the story. There are just some parts that I was like, is that how we're going to deal with this? So honestly, I would put you in I Thank You for Your Time, but it's going to be on the lower end of I Thank You for Your Time. Next up, we have Sadie by Courtney Summers. I read this one through the audiobook, and man, was it a fantastic audiobook. I really enjoyed this book when I read it at the time, but now that I'm thinking about it, I remember oh my god. I can't even finish my thoughts because I don't know how I feel about this book. I was gonna say I don't remember that much about the story, but I actually remember the story like almost verbatim. So yeah, I definitely enjoyed the story more. Yeah, it probably goes after Anna K. but before Crescent City. Next up, we have Saga Volume 1. I really enjoyed this one. So I thank you for your time. I'm going to put this one at... I enjoyed it more than Priory and Assassin's Blade. Not more than Silver Flame. So it would go around that area. Next up, we have Volume 2. This one I don't remember anything of. I can't really differentiate between what happened in Volume 2 versus Volume 1, or what happened in Volume 2 versus Volume 3, because I literally binged all three of them. Or no, I think I binged the first two, and then I read the third one not too long after it. Point is, though, I can't tell you anything that happened in this particular volume, not like specifics. So we're going to go ahead and put that in Nothing to Write Home About. And yeah, we're going to go ahead and put it after Bromance Book Club, because I can tell you more about Bromance Book Club than I can tell you about Saga Volume 2. Volume 3, though, I absolutely love. This one is my favorite one that I've read so far. Specific, like, wholeheartedly because of this little girl right here. Like, her story really captured my heart to the point where it actually changed how I felt about another character in the book. So I'm going to put this one before Sadie. And I really need to continue this series. I just haven't felt too inclined to. Next up, we have Stalking Jack the Ripper. This one was one that really surprised me this year. I did not think I was going to love it as much as I did, and I ended up absolutely adoring it. And I really want to continue this series too. I just haven't found the time to. Ooh, it's definitely... I enjoyed this more than Lore. Cool. Alright, so next up, we have A Crown of Gilded Bones. It was bound to happen at some point. Like I said, I originally gave this book 5 stars. Really enjoyed it. I actually, again, was part of the few that actually liked this book, but JLA got me fucked up. So hell no. So unfortunate. Next up, we have The Black Flamingo. I loved this book. And I love this cover, and I really wish I could find it somewhere. It's the new cover is cute. Like, she's also a moment, but look at just the pink. Do you see that pink? Oh, all right. I absolutely adored this book. It's around the same area as Homebody. I love the perspective of the story. I love the voice of the narrator. It's told in verse, and man, does the story's value grow so much more with the format it's told. Like, I love this book. Next up, we have Skyward, another one that absolutely surprised me. First of all, I did not think that I was a sci-fi girl. I did not think I was a Brandon Sanderson girl. Honestly, he kind of intimidates me. Like, it just, But this YA sci-fi had my heart. I loved the discussion of imperialism and what it is like to be a part of a culture that values loyalty and strength, and the culture that surrounds militarization and all of that, and just like the emphasis on you need to be brave, you need to, and how horrible it would be to be a coward, and how cowards are defined in this culture. Just, I loved the commentary, how it could be so adaptable to our lives. Just love Skyward. I don't know where she's placed in this, though. I would say after Anna K. Y'all, when I tell you, I feel like I don't know why Anna K is so highly, like, loved by me, except it was just a fun time. Like, I think it was just a fun time for me, personally. And so, yeah. I feel like Anna K probably would be, like, as we continue, it's probably going to end up being like the middle marker for this section here. Because again, it was just such a fun time. I think about it and I giggle. Like, it's just like, I don't know why I love this book so much, but I love it. Next up, we have The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. I really enjoyed this book, but I actually did not enjoy it as much as I thought I would. So, we're actually going to put this one... Oh, it's definitely better than Crescent City. Oh, probably, yeah, I would put it after Skyward. The Lost Apothecary by Sarah Pinner. Another one that quite shocked me. I didn't expect to love, like, the historical part of this book as much as I did, but I really love the messaging behind this story. It was so great. Man, did I feel passionately about this woman's husband and how much I hated him. I would put this one after The Hate You Give. Actually, nah, it's before The Hate You Give. Next up, we have The Mystery of Black Hollow Lane by Julia Nobel. This was a cute one. It was, along with Stalking Jack the Ripper, it was actually the first Buddy Read pick in Mel's Patreon. It was, I think it was actually the first middle, never mind. I read it more before this one, right? No. Yeah, this is actually the first middle grade I read this year. It was a cute time. Honestly, it can go there and I'd be fine with that. Next up, we have The Poet X. Again, really enjoyed my time with this. Felt so passionately about the mother-daughter relationship in this book. Like, I felt for this main character. Where does this go? Probably in this section somewhere. Granted, I don't think I cried for The Poet X, or actually I think I did, but they were like tears of frustration. I was so angry at the mother in The Poet X. Like, she made me so mad with the way she handled things with her daughter. Like, that is a parent I would like to talk to in person. I would like to advocate for your child because she did not deserve. Next up, we have The Proposal by Jasmine Guillory. I read this in one sitting. It was an audiobook. I needed to do my hair. It was a good time. Nothing to write home about though. It was okay. As I was reading it, I knew it was going to fade in the background of other books. That being said, I definitely enjoyed it more than the Bromance Book Club. Let's not get crazy. Next up, we have Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. Was not a big fan of this one at all. We're gonna go ahead and put that one at the end of Nothing to Write Home About. Actually, no, thank you. I appreciate it as a first in the series. I appreciate it as the first thing, the first bit of writing that Sarah J. Maas wrote. But man, did it get repetitive at times. Honestly, especially after reading Assassin's Blade, it just was like, man, this sharp digression in writing style. I cannot. Like, there got to one point where they, like, I literally marked how many times in, like, one paragraph or even, like, one page the author had wrote Selena. Like, the amount of times she wrote the main character's name. And I was like, oh my god, heaven forbid we forget what this woman's name is. Because it's, wow, so repetitive. So actually, no thank you. I'm happy I could continue with the series, but that first book took a lot out of me. Next up, we have A Yolk by Mary H.K. Choi. I will die on a hill for this one. Oh my god, this book, it hit me hard. It hit me in the feels. I have talked about this book so many times on my channel. But again, it really came at such a valuable time in my life. And it was just a sister dynamic and a love that I really appreciated, especially in the time that I was in, the support that these sisters had for each other, and how their relationship wasn't perfect. It wasn't like she was just like, I forgive you for everything you've done to me. It was just like, or even, I'm going to try to see your side of things. They were sisters, and it was, yeah, I love their love for each other. I love the representation with Edie. It was a great book that I think of so fondly. And like, I will never not read something that Mary H.K. Choi wrote, right? I'm still reading her backlog, but man, does Mary H.K. Choi have my heart now. She's absolutely one of my favorite authors. Next up, we got you. It will probably go in actually no thank you. It'll be in a higher part of this. I actually didn't feel too intensely about this book when I read it, and wasn't really aching to go to the next book, but I did anyways, just to see what would happen. And of course, as we know, I regretted that decision, but yeah, the first book, it was like okay. It was literally like the first season of You. Like it was like I could have just I could have just watched the Netflix series like I had already done. There was no need to read the book. Next up, we have A Dark and Hollow Star by Ashley Shuttleworth. I really enjoyed this book. Yeah, I thank you for your time. It was a fun story. And also the world in A Dark and Hollow Star really captured me every chance I got to read it. Thoroughly enjoyed my time with that one. Next up, we have Ace of Spades, and y'all absolutely know where the hell this book is going. Farida Bika protect her at all costs. She is a national treasure, not my nation's treasure, but she is a national treasure. Like, where's her wax figure? Immortalize her name. Wow, as a debut author, you're the same age as me. God dang. Oh, the representation in this book, the way I felt for Chiamaka. Again, she was another character that she was not perfect in the slightest. I did not always agree with her actions or the way she handled things, but man, did I see myself in this character, and just how much goodness gracious, I love this book with my whole heart, soul, and being. Devon, I will protect with my whole heart. I will protect him at all costs. Protect Devon. If you don't do nothing else, protect Devon. My goodness. Next up, we have Actor Age Eve Brown by Talia Hibbert. I thank you for your time, and I thank you quite a lot for your time. Like, wow, Eve Brown. Where do you go? She's somewhere over here. Like, I loved this series. In fact, let's go ahead and get a ton of room, because I know that the other books are coming at some point, and they're definitely on the higher end of I thank you for your time. I love Talia Hibbert as a romance author so much. Like, I genuinely don't think she can do any wrong by me. She's also a comfort author for me. Like, when I was getting kind of slumpy in my reads this year, I went to Talia Hibbert to fix that, and man, did it work. I love everything Talia Hibbert writes. I have yet to not like a couple that she has written, and I can't wait to read more. Honestly, this is probably a good spot for Actor Age Eve Brown, right after Concrete Rose, but like over The Poet X. Yeah, I can see that for Eve Brown. Next up, we have Anna K. Away. I also really enjoyed this book for no reason, but like, it makes me giggle. I'm going to say thank you for your time, but it's going to be on the lower end of thank you for your time. So it's going to be, or not even the lower end. It's definitely, no, it's not even the lower end. I lied to y'all. It's after Skyward, but it's not that far at the end. You know, it hasn't been that hard to be brutal yet. We just had that one snafu with Amari and Darius the Great is not okay, and Darius the Great deserves better. But we have been doing great since then. Has not been that difficult. I hope I don't end up eating my words. Next up, we have Bestiary. I love this book. It really felt like storytelling, and I never know how to describe books like these, because every book you read is storytelling. That's like, there's a story that is being told. Duh. But it just reminds me of like you're sitting down listening to a story being told. This story like depicts like generations of women in this family in a way, and how they deal with certain things, and the like mythology that surrounds their family in a way, or in a sense. And there's like this fantastical realism element to it all, and an exploration of sexuality, and it's great. It is a great one. This book has, reading this book changed me as a reader. Like I realized that I do really like kind of lyrical writing in a sense. And yeah, I would say that this was lyrical because it also felt like poetry as I was reading it, even though it wasn't told in verse. I really enjoyed this book. Yeah, and I think this is actually a perfect place to put it. Definitely recommend that one. And it's a book that I don't hear very many people talking about, but I thoroughly enjoyed the way the story was told, and the exploration of the different identities and the different women in this family, the generations and the stories that was told, and how it was told, of like being letters to your, oh my god, it kind of, read this book. Like I don't even, it was just so pure and honest, and it just captured my heart from the second I started reading the story. And it feels like generations of a family talking to each other, even though they're not, like, they're talking to each other through the story they're telling you, and it's just so beautiful. So that was Bestiary by, oh, hold on, I do know, it's Bestiary, and that was Bestiary by Kaming Chung. I do know that there are apparently a ton of different books with that title, so this one in particular is the one I'm talking about. Next up, we have Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas. It has a loving place in my heart because it was actually the very first book that I read for this channel. The very first video that I posted on this channel was a read-along. It was a smut-a-thon that I hosted with myself. It was great. And yeah, it was the first time I vlogged. It was the first video for this channel. This book, however, after reading other books, yeah, I would say there's nothing to write home about. Again, it's better than Bromance Book Club. Let's not get it twisted. In my opinion, I enjoyed my time more with this book than I did with Bromance Book Club. But I think the proposal was cuter, if I'm being honest. So yeah, it's here. That's not a bad place to be at all. Black Imagination. Actually, I would absolutely die on a hill for this one. There was so much I didn't know about this book going into it. I think I just saw the title, and I read this on Scribd with the audiobook, and I saw that David Diggs and Lena Waithe were the narrators for this book. It said Black Imagination. It delved upon Black creatives and their imaginations and everything. It was not a story, but it's a collection of poetry, a collection of works by various authors, centering around Black imagination. And what I did not know is that it also takes place in Washington State, centered around Seattle in particular. Even the other cities that the artists were from, I still felt like I could relate to the author, or I still felt like I could relate to the writers because they were so close to where I grew up and so close to where I went to college. It reminded me of undergrad, all the art and all the poetry that I consumed at that time, because I was kind of surrounded by a lot of artists at the time. So I'm going to actually put it after Heartstopper. It has a very special place in my heart, and I definitely recommend it to anyone interested in reading more poetry collections. Next up, we have Bloom. This book, Blessed Soul, was the book I read after Normal People. It's nothing too grand. It's nothing too great. I'm going to put this under Nothing to Write Home About. And yeah, I'm actually going to put it at the end of that because I honestly didn't like the main character, but that wasn't a problem for me. I loved the art style of this book. It just was a very basic story. That's just it. Next up, we have Cemetery Boys. I really enjoyed this one. I love the story that was told. I love the relationship in this book. I love the family, the way familial dynamics were handled in this book. I thought it was a great time. Yeah, it's gonna have to go after Anna K for me. There were some times where I felt like I was just like dragging along with the book, but that might not have been the book's fault. I just might not have been in a reading mood. I can't remember what it was, but yeah, I just didn't feel like reading at the time, and my experience with the book suffered from it. But like, yeah, still very much enjoyed my time and love the representation in the book. Love the story of the book. Crown of Midnight. It was my favorite of these books that I've read so far. So it's literally just gonna go straight in front of Assassin's Blade. Actually, no, it's not. It's gonna go right after Assassin's Blade. So I guess Assassin's Blade was actually my favorite that I wrote or that I read of the series so far. Again, I have no grand opinions. Actually, I do have grand opinions about that one. I think that was the one I ended up getting very angry in. Next up, we have Daughter of Spoken Bone by Laini Taylor. This one absolutely surprised me. I did not think I was going to love this book at all. And yet, here we are. It's definitely, and I thank you for your time. I'm just trying to figure out where it's going to go. I think because I'm having such a hard time moving on to the second book, it's going to be after Anna K. I love how Anna K really is the marker for all the books. Like, what? Like I said, I feel like that's going to end up being, like, solid middle ground for this area. But I'm going to put it, yeah, it's definitely above A Dark and Hollow Star. And it's above Cemetery Boys for me. I really enjoyed. Yeah, I think that's a good place for it. Next up, we have Emergency Contact by Mary H.K. Choi. I really like this one. I would not consider this one a romance at all. I think that is one area where this book kind of, like, in marketing for this book, they kind of fell short when it came to that. Like, I don't think of it as a romance. I think of it as a contemporary and a depiction of relationships and how they grow and how they progress over time. But for the majority of the book, they were friends. So, and I did like the relationship that they had, and how it progressed with one another. I love how imperfect each character was. Next up, we have Felix Ever After. I love this book. I love this book so much. Honestly, I will die on a hill for this book. Like, wow. Just such a great depiction of, like, a young person dealing with their identity, trying to figure things out, dealing with their sexuality and everything. Just like, wow, what a beautiful, beautiful voice. I love Felix, but I don't have them above Dice. Like, no. Next up we have Get a Life, Chloe Brown. I thank you for your time. Where it needs to be. Cool. Next up we have Guarding Temptation. It kind of hurts to put it here, but it's gonna be nothing to write home about. It's gonna be at the top of it, though. Of Talia Hibbert's work, it's probably the most forgettable one that I've read of it. It's a novella, though, so it's not like I'm gonna fault it for that. It's a cute time. Just nothing to write home about. I'm not gonna go out of my way to suggest it to people. Next up, we have Gyo by Jinjito, also the very first book that I read of Jinjito, solidifying my love for this man. Wow, is it quite horrifying. We can put it after Skyward. Next up, we have Happy Marriage, Volume 1. This was a manga that I just read on a whim because I felt like reading a manga. It was suggested to me. It was a cute moment. Nothing to write home about, though. And it'll probably be after Saga. Next up, we have Instructions for Dancing, also known as Heartbreak Avenue. It's on Thank You for Your Time. This book broke me. Next up, we have Happened One Summer. This book received one of the lowest ratings I have given a book all year. Was it a 2-star or did I say 1.5? I think I gave it 2. Is it oh hell no? Or is it actually no thank you? I don't know. It's oh hell no. Like, honestly, I am upset that I read the book. There was so much involved in this book that I felt excited about. Like, the fact that it took place in Washington State. The fact that it was surrounding the maritime industry. The fact that it was supposed to be like the Schitt's Creek version or whatever, inspired by Schitt's Creek. Like, all that made me so excited, and slowly but surely, all of that ended up being the reason that I did not like the book. Like, that's not how I interpreted the characters that they were inspired by, which, like, I'm not gonna hold you on, like, how you interpreted a character. Like, who cares? Like, that's neither here nor there. So now it's just 2 characters in a book. Like I said, I was very excited they dealt with Washington State. It was a whole other part of Washington State than I am a part of, so I couldn't really relate anymore to that particular aspect of it. And then I was excited because it dealt with the maritime industry, and for one of my jobs I actually work alongside the maritime industry, doing equity trainings and like working with employers. Just like in spaces I have been in, I have heard women discussing how the maritime industry really isn't very welcoming to women. It can be very misogynistic and a very tough environment to be a part of. And just like some of the microaggressions and like passive aggressiveness that women have had to deal with within the maritime industry, like, I've actually heard their stories. So then to have a love interest that would say things like women don't belong on ships because they're distracting, or just say things about women that were like, why, sir, just shut up and be cute. So like, yeah, the main love interest, or the love interest, just became very yucky to me, to where like I didn't care about the romance. I didn't care about literally any aspect of the book. It just was gross. So next up we have Clara and the Sun by Kazu Ishii. Girl, love this book. I love this book so much. Clara has my heart. I absolutely will die on the hill for Clara. Like, are you kidding me? Clara was my favorite character. I guess she's the main character, and that's great because literally everybody else, it's not that I couldn't stand every other character. It's just that they weren't Clara, and they never would be. So next up, we have Lost in the Neverwoods. Honestly, if you ask me, this is literally Cemetery Boys Takes 2, except it's a Peter Pan retelling this time. But literally the entire format of the story was the exact same as Cemetery Boys, except I think I actually, at the time, enjoyed this one more than Cemetery Boys. I don't know how I feel about that now, so I'm just going to put in It's Nothing to Write Home About. So next we're going to go for The Magic Misfits by Neil Patrick Harris. Honestly, it's a middle grade. It was such a cute time. I loved the found family aspect of it all. But personally, when it comes to like other books I've read this year, this one just does not measure up in the grand scheme of things. So it's probably going to be like Nothing to Write Home About. I'm going to say above the Bromance Book Club though. After Birthday Girl. I just had fun with Birthday Girl. So yeah, that's the only reason it gets. I mean, I had fun with The Magic Misfits, but again, just kind of falls short after all the middle grade that I have read that have been so amazing. Next up, we have, this one represents an entire series. So Midnight Secretary, volumes 1 through 7. I was not about to copy and paste 7 of these volumes when I felt the exact same way about every single one of them. Absolutely nothing to write home about. Honestly, most of the volumes blur between each other, but it was such a fun time. It was a good time in the moment. I would say after... yeah, it would probably go right there, right after Birthday Girl and before The Magic Misfits. The book that represents a whole series, the Mindfuck series. Books 1 through 5 feel the exact same way about all of them, essentially. It was a blast. I'm going to put it in thank you for your time, but it is going to be on the lower end of thank you for your time. It is. There was one time I literally read these books back to back. Literally every single night I read one of the books. So for a whole 5 days, every single night I was going to bed after reading this. That was a bad decision. I ended up having a nightmare where I was the main character. Ooh, child. I don't suggest doing that. I just rip it off like a band-aid and read them all at the same time, or spread it out, because I mean, if you're not prone to nightmares, that honestly doesn't matter. But me spreading it out between 5 days, I was asking for a nightmare to happen, and man, did it show itself. Next up, we have Muse of Nightmares by Laini Taylor. Not only will I die on a hill for this one, I cannot stop thinking about this dang book. It's after Yolk. Like, I'm not even gonna lie. It is above Monday's Not Coming, and I am very surprised by that fact. Next up, we the way we have fallen. Next up, we have Normal People. I can't stand this book. Honestly, the whole reason Oh Hell Nah is called Oh Hell Nah is because of this book. Because oh hell nah, what the fuck y'all make me read? Granted, so I read this for the Buddy Read pick for Mel Reed's Patreon. I was one of the people advocating for it. I was so excited to read this book. What the fuck did I just, like, I still don't know what the fuck did I read. I'm so, like, I don't understand. And I was hell pressed to finish the book too. I was like, I have to finish it. I hated it from like page 50. It was like, I need to finish this. I kept trying to give it chance after chance and chance after chance, and let me down. I cannot stand it. I can't stand. There is literally not a single person of color. Like, there's not, like, the relationship in the story is horrible. I don't get it. Every time I hear somebody talking about this book, I cringe. I have just gotten to the place where I can now hear the author's name without cringing. Like, it's like a physical reaction I feel when it comes to my hatred for this book. And I know I'm not in the minority with this. Like, it's literally half and half. You either hate this book or you love it. And I'm so upset that I am on the opposite. I'm so upset that I'm on the opposing side of this book. But man, is it just, I don't like this book. Like, I don't like it at all. Man, it's great to get that off my chest. This is the last time I'm talking about this book, and it feels great. And I think it hurts I think it hurts even more because I was so excited to read this book, and then I finished it and was like, what the fuck? Why? Not to mention, like, oh my god, I keep going. Not to mention, I think the first rating I gave it was a 2-star, and then every time I thought about this book, every time somebody else mentioned this book and what they loved about this book, my rating went down. I was like, no, it's not that. It's nowhere near a 2-star, actually. That was quite generous of me. I was way too nice. Next up, we have Punk 57. I apparently am a 12-year-old boy going through puberty. Punk 57 was a great time. I think of it in the same realm of Anna K. and Anna K. Like, I can't explain to you why I love this book as much as I do, but man, do I love this book so very much. Where is it, though? I mean, yeah, it's probably above. Nah, it's not above Anna K. Ooh, and it's not above Daughter of Spoken Bone. That was dramatic of me to say. Ooh, I might put it above Cemetery Boys, though. Again, just for enjoyment's sake, like, I had such a fun time. It reminded me of some, like, reading Wattpad stories in, like, my younger high school years. Or, I mean, just, like, I don't know. It just reminded me of, like, reading I used to do when I was younger, and the way I just wanted to pick up the book at all times. Like, it was a fun time. Next up, we have Simone Breaks All the Rules. Cover-wise, stunning, beautiful, so cute. She is the cutest thing ever. Also love the very vibrant pink background and the butterflies surrounding her. This is not a we're not talking about book covers, but man, is it a beautiful book cover. Just stunning. Unfortunately, the story within these pages just was not as stunning. It was honestly quite simple and simplistic. So yeah, I'm gonna put nothing to write home about, and it's on the lower end of that because ultimately it was like I was so excited to read this book, or not so. When I read the synopsis, I was excited to read the book. It's not like I was anticipating this read, but I was very excited when I first when I read the synopsis, and then I read it and I was like, oh, okay, like sure. Next up we have Starsight. I actually love Starsight more than Skyward. So wherever Skyward is, it goes above that. I love the character development in this book. I love how the new cast of characters we were introduced to in this book. Beautiful. Honestly, this is a perfect place to put it. Next up is Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. This one I actually prefer Muse of Nightmares to Strange the Dreamer. I don't. That's because I say that because I don't know if I would quite die on a hill for Strange the Dreamer. I will, however, put it at the very beginning of Thank You for Your Time. I love Sarai in them. The Citadel is amazing. I love Laini Taylor's storytelling. The way I was so invested in these characters, the way I still think about these characters and what their futures could have held. Like, I feel like I can't write their story, but I feel like I have a story for them in my mind of how the story continues for them. And it's just, I love them so much. So shout out to Laini Taylor for being honestly the most surprising author that I read this year. I genuinely did not think I would like any of their books, and yet I absolutely adore everything I've read from them. Next up, we have Take a Hint, Dani Brown. This is my absolute favorite Brown sister. Next up, we have The Beautiful by Renee Ahdieh. I enjoyed this book. The only thing I did not enjoy with this book is that there was a good part of this book that was just like, there's a mystery. I'm like, the main character was just confused about the mystery going on, but the reader themselves knew what the mystery was, and the main character doesn't. And so this whole time that she's like, there's this mystery, it's so mysterious, it's so mysterious. I don't know what's going on. There's a mystery, and there's like this hovering mystery surrounding the story that's like a cloud of a mystery, but the reader knows what the mystery is. And so every time that the main character is mentioning that mysterious things are happening and how they're confused by this, it's just like, okay, repetitive much? We get it, you don't know. And honestly, your confusion is starting to confuse me. So can we stop mentioning how we're confused? So for that reason, it is... Oh, I definitely liked it more than Kyo, though. So yeah, it's gonna go right before Kyo. Next up, we have The Black Veins. You know I would die on a hill for this one. I love this friend group with my whole heart, soul, and being. I wish I was a part of this friend group. Man, are they great. And I love them more than Felix, but I do not love them more than Clara. This is how I have to decide, because man, do I love these books on this row. The Other Black Girl. When I originally read this, I would have put this in. I'd die on the hill for this one, because when I love this book, but it was making me so frustrated when people weren't quite enjoying it as much as I was, because I feel like there was like certain nuances that they missed, which is fine. Not every book is for every person. Now though, I would say thank you for your time with this one. Anyways, next up we have The Roommate Risk, which is my absolute favorite romance novel that I have read from Talia Hibbert. I absolutely love the romance in this book. I love the friendship. I love Raul. Man, Raul. The things I will do for that man. There is no reason he got to be as fine as it just. I wish somebody thought of me the way Raoul thinks of Jasmine. Nah, no, I actually would. This book is an amazing romance. I absolutely will die on the hill defending how great of a romance this book is. It is going to be on the lower end of I die on the hill for this, but this, and it's also a book that, like, I originally gave, like, the rating I gave for it, and then as I was, like, describing it to people, I was just glowing and raving about this book. It truly has a higher place, like, it just has such a high place in my heart, to the point where I was describing it to somebody, and they were like, I feel like this needs a higher rating than you say you're giving it, and I was like, you know what? You're not lying, because the way that I am comparing every man to Raoul now, like, I have standards, and they are Raoul. Next up, we have The Unmatchable Bachelor. This was like a very short novella I read at one point. In between books, it was a good time. Nothing to write home about. No. And the author did do a great job of depicting a story in so little pages. I think like the story's progression actually was quite nice, albeit a little rushed. But again, I feel like that has to do more with the fact that it's a novella than it has to do with like the actual writing, or character development. Why? Oh, honey. Okay, I have different opinions about things than I think I do. First of all, there's no way this book is, I feel less about this book than I do these two. So we're going to go ahead and put that after Birthday Girl. I will agree to that. That being said, The Unmatchable Bachelor would go before this book. Simone breaks all the rules, but it would go after Birthday Girl. Like I said, Birthday Girl kind of has like a special place in my heart as the first book I read for this channel. And just like the time I read it, it was a cute time. I wasn't asking much from it, and it gave me exactly that. Not much. Next up, we have Vicious Spirits by Cat Cho. This is the second book of the Wicked Fox duology, or companion to Wicked Fox. So I don't even know. Whatever, y'all get it. I really enjoyed this book. It's definitely in Thank You for Your Time. I really grew to love the main characters in this book, which is great because I honestly didn't think, like, if after reading Wicked Fox you would have told me that I would love the main characters of Vicious Spirits the way I did, I would have been like, huh? Like, who? Like, they're not even that important. Like, who cares about them? And then I read Vicious Spirits, and man, did I care about them. Like, wow. I think before Instructions into Dancing and after Concrete Rose is actually quite a lovely place to put this book. Weird Dreams Sin. I was confused for 90% of this book. Like, what? Oh gosh, I don't even know where to put this book. Because, I mean, there's something to write home about. I had questions I needed answers to. I felt strongly about things in this book. Mainly how confused I was by it. Am I thanking it for its time, though? That feels a bit intense. But yeah, no. There was things in here. That's what this book was. I mean, it was above all of these books. It was, but Thank You for Your Time. That's a lot. Yeah, we're gonna put it right there. Wicked Fox. Absolutely love this book. And my favorite part about this book was the mother-daughter relationship in this book. Like, it was stunning. Honestly, I would die. I would die on this hill. I would. The imagery in this book was fantastic, stunning, beautiful. I absolutely loved it. I think it would be above. I love this book so much. I love the imagery. Again, I love the familial dynamics, not just with the mother-daughter bond that was discussed in their relationship, but also with just like other family members, and like found family, of like how important your best friends are to you. Just so many relationships were delved upon in this book, and it was just beautiful, just beautiful. Oh my god, no, it is above Felix. It is. Oh god. See, this is the hard part because I love Felix Ever After. I really do, and I wish that I had more chances to recommend it to people, because just like the young voice of this narrator and just how determined they were to find out their truth, and how determined they were to live their life, and how strong that they were as like as a character, and how strong they stood in their truth once they discovered it. I just, wow, so powerful. Again, it was one of those reads like, this was not around when I was in high school, but man, would it be so much more impactful. And I hope that more young readers are reading this book and can see themselves in this book. Like, I really love the representation in Felix Ever After, that like as an adult who's lived life and like has, and I like have friends within the community, like I've had these discussions before, but to hear that discussion happen with such a young voice attached to it truly was so heartwarming. I was supposed to be talking about Wicked Fox. But I feel like Wicked Fox is discussed oftentimes in like the booktube space, and like, but I haven't seen very many people talk about Felix Ever After in like booktube, bookstagram, book talk. Like literally, like I don't see that many people talking about such a fantastic book, and we gotta highlight it. Next up, we have You Can't Touch My Hair by Phoebe Robinson, also known as the book that introduced me to Phoebe Robinson and made me fall in love with her. Man, I love this author's voice. She is so funny. I absolutely cannot wait to read her other essay collections, because man, is she funny. And she writes like she talks. Not to mention, I also read this one I also listened to this one as an audiobook, and she narrates her own books. That was very fun to like experience. Like she's so it was like listening to a podcast. It was such a great time. I'm gonna put it after Bestiary. Next up, we have A Diary of Blood. Thank you for your time. I don't know if I would die on the hill for this one, but oh my god, thank you for your time. This is such beautifully crafted work. I love the lyrical writing in this book. It is definitely on the higher end over here somewhere. Probably we're gonna do after Homebody. Yeah. Alright, so next up we have Bad for the Boss by Talia Hibbert. Truly, after the date with the authors, the first episode of Date with the Author, I became obsessed with Talia Hibbert. Like I said, this is actually a book that I read to help me deal with a reading slump that I was in. I was just wanting something very quick, very to the point. Talia Hibbert delivered on that front. It was great. Was it a profound piece of writing? No. Was it the best thing she's ever written? No. But it was fun. Next up, we have Black Girl Call Home, a great poetry collection by Jasmine Mans. I really enjoyed this one. Where does it go though? I think right after You Can't Touch My Hair is a stunning place. It's a great place for you to be. Next up, we have Dune. We're just gonna quietly move this to where I think it belongs. Next up, Embodied. This is a poetry anthology with amazing art attached to it. Also, we're gonna go ahead and switch A Dark and Hollow Star with Cemetery Boys, because I definitely enjoyed that book more. Yeah. This goes right there after Starsight, before Punk 57. Front Desk. Oh my goodness. What an amazing main character. Goodness, Mia has my heart. Such a strong main character, and for her to be for this to be middle grade, stunning, beautiful. Oh my gosh. Absolutely would die on a hill for this one. It is before Wicked Fox, after the Black Fanes. Next up, we have Full Disclosure, yet another young voice that was so great to read when it came to, like, the topics discussed was very serious, seeing as the main character was dealing with disclosing her HIV status to new friends and a person that she was romantically interested in. It just dealt with such serious topics in such a beautiful way to have a young voice discussing these things and being so passionate about it and being so wise about the topic and the subject, but also asking questions. We're curious, and me as a reader learning with the main character. Such a stunning book. Oh my goodness. Okay. Wow. Okay. Yeah, she's right here. Alright, so next up we have It's Not About the Burqa. Such an amazing collection of essays. I just felt so empowered reading these essays. I felt it was just a great read. I feel like I learned so much. It really, like, just such a great book. I don't even know how to, like, it's one of those books, like, I don't know how to describe how impactful it was to me, but man, did it really help change my perspective on things. Or not even change my perspective, but it was nice to see all the different perspectives in this collection, and the different writers' experiences, and how what they've taken away from each experience, and how it reflects in their identities and everything. It was just such a stunning collection of essays by various authors. Where does it go, though? You know what? Let's go ahead. We can go there. No. And honestly, yeah, we're after Full Disclosure. Very, very high up there in the thank you for your time. I thank you for your time. Know My Name by Chanel Miller. Quite frankly, the greatest memoir that I have read this year. The greatest bit of nonfiction that I read in 2021. Just so stunning. On it. Yes, I will die on the hill for this one. I will fight for this one. Wow, where does it go, though? It honestly feels weird putting this book after something, because wow, just such a stunning memoir. Oh gosh, that's interesting. Like, as a memoir, I haven't really thought of Know My Name's place in reference to, like, other books that I've read, because, like, it's nonfiction, it's a memoir, it's like not like the majority of the books that I've read. It's just so different in its own space. So I haven't really thought about where it is stacked up against other books that I've read. I haven't really thought of it where it's stacked up on, like, my favorite books of the year and all that stuff. So to, like, see it there, like, it makes sense to me. Like, it makes sense to me that I placed it there, but I'm also just surprised because, like, of course the book would be as high up as it is, but also to see so many books that, like, were all-time favorites of mine for so long early on in the year. Monday's Not Coming, Amari and the Night Brothers, Darius the Great. Like, these are books that I read in, like, the first half of the year that I absolutely adored and loved, and have been saying, like, these are on my top 5 of the year. So to see, like, a book go, like, before them, it just feels very weird. But, like, yeah, that's where that goes. So weird. Just a weird reflection moment I'm having right now, and I don't know why it's making me emotional, but, like, man, was that book impactful. Speaking of an impactful book, Legendborn. I love this book so much. This book surprised me. It surprised me so much because I was really trying to figure out what a black girl was doing in Arthurian legend. And yet, man, did she have a place there. And just the magic system in this world, the way magic was discussed, and the cultural aspect, the generational stories told in this book, just stunning. I cannot wait for the second book to come out this year. Honestly, as I'm looking at this, Bree is like the older version of Amari. She is literal black girl magic, and so I'm just going to place her right there. Again, another very surprising one, because it's like, yes, I love this book so much, and it's truly impacted the way I'm viewing other fantasy novels now. However, I have read Amari earlier on in the year, and it has stuck in my top 5 for so long, and I see now that it's not there anymore. And those books later on in the year that knocked it out of my top 5, like, wow. I'm very surprised, but also not surprised. Because I've just this whole time I've been like, Amari's my top 5. Amari's my top 5 of the year. Girl, you read other books throughout the year. It couldn't be there all. It's not the way things work. The next book is Liquor and Laundry. This was a great fun time. Nothing to write home about though. It was exactly what I needed in that moment, but also a fever dream. Like, it was great fun though. So I will put it before Birthday Girl and after Bad for the Boss, because it's like the same vibe. Next one, Long Way Down by Jason Reynolds. I got your name right this time, sir. I am so sorry for all the times I've got it wrong. But Jason Reynolds, Long Way Down, such a stunning book. Very impactful also in the story. I absolutely will die on the hill for this book. I think so many more people need to read it. It's such an impactful story, told in verse, such a quick story, narrated. Just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Next up, we have Censor by Jinjito. My favorite one that I have read from him so far. I think this was another one that was just so perfect in the time that I read it. It just felt like a story I needed to hear at that time. Like, the moral of this story felt like one that I needed at the moment that I got it. So that just felt very much like kismet. So I definitely thank you for your time. Where does it go though? Right here. It goes right here. Alright, so next up, Shadow of the Wind. Shadow of the Wind. Where do you go? Oh my god, the fact that it's just the romance of it all, and the romance between the reader and a text, the love between different generations, and how similar their stories were. Just the way that I still don't know if this is magical realism or I just where does this book go? I didn't know I was willing to die on the hill for so many books. I honestly thought there'd be like 5 of them on here. Huh? Little do I know, I am very passionate about the books I read and the characters. But here we are. Shadow of the Wind. Next up, we have Snot Girl. This was a very cute one. I can't wait to continue on with the story. So we are actually going to put this on Nothing to Write Home About, unfortunately, but it's on the higher end of it. Next up, we have The Bride Test by Helen Huang. Loved this book. It's not my favorite of Helen Huang's writing. In fact, out of the 3 books that I've read of this author, it is the most forgettable one for me. So we're going to put it in Nothing to Write Home About, but it's going to be just like Guarding Temptation, a book that I really enjoyed, on the higher end of Nothing to Write Home About, just like when you compare it to the other one of the books, or the other books in this like companion trilogy series. Like, it doesn't measure up at all. It's more forgettable than the other 2 in my opinion. Next up, we have The Burning God, thank you for your time. I don't, this whole trilogy got me messed up. Like, I don't know who I am after reading this trilogy. Check out my fantastical journeys with the author if you would like to know more of my thoughts on these 3 books, because I definitely will not be going into depth about them ever again. They're great reads. Man, did they devastate me. It's after Spirit, Vicious Spirit, though. Alright, so next up we have, where do we have? The Dragon Republic. This one was my favorite one out of the series. I keep talking about trilogies and series interchangeably. This is my favorite one out of the trilogy. There we go. Next up we have the Final Girl Support Group. I think at the time I probably would have said nothing to write home about, but actually, no thank you. On the higher end of actually no thank you, but honestly, I could have done without this book. It's for it to be a thriller, it's not that memorable after I've finished reading it. And yeah, so actually no thank you. Just not for me. I appreciate the work that Grady Hendrix put into it, just not a book for me. The Heart Principle, I absolutely will die on a hill for. I was not expecting to love this book as much as I did, but man, did the tears flow, and man, was my heart aching. Just stunning. And it goes right here. The Kiss Quotient. I really enjoyed this one. It was such a cute story. So thank you for your time. But yeah, I'm not gonna die on a hill for Stella and her man. But it was so cute. Next up we have The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. Really enjoyed this book. Clearly, wow. I don't even know what to say anymore about this trilogy. R.F. Kuang is an auto-buy author, though, after reading this trilogy. Like, again, a collection of, or 3 books that have really shaped me as a reader moving forward and what I'm looking for in books and in writing. Honestly, directly in front of Burning God is kind of exactly where it belongs in this list. The next up we have The Secret of Whitestone Gate. Honestly, oh hell no, I am very upset that I read this book. It just didn't, and granted, I am not the target demographic for this book, and so that's totally fine. I should have stopped at the first book. The first book was a cute time for me. It was great. There just really was no reason for me to read the second one. Actually, you know what? Yeah, for that reason, we're just going to go ahead and put it in actually no thank you. And on the lower end of that, it just really wasn't for me. I should have stopped at the first book. But yeah, it's not like I absolutely hate it. Like, can you really absolutely hate a middle grade? That just seems odd to say. So next up, we have The Taking of Jake Livingston. I thank you for your time. Ryan Douglas, this book, it went hard. Like, on the subject matter and, like, everything discussed, like, it was very graphic and it was a lot to take in. It's after You Can't Touch My Hair, but before The Other Black Girl. It was a fun read. Next up we have This Winter, also known as This Broke Me. I really wasn't expecting what happened in this. Like, there was no preparing me for this book, and it hurt. It hurt hard. It hurt bad. I thank you for your time. Now, where do you go? I'll put Afterlore. But man, did this book see me in a way that I was not anticipating, and I just, that was a lot. Next up, we have Tricky Magic by L.L. Campbell. This was the last book I read in 2021, And it was exactly what I needed. It wasn't very intense. It was very quick, to the point. But yeah, nothing to write home about. It's probably on the higher end because I really did enjoy myself. But we're gonna put it. Oh yeah, it's above where. No, it's not. It's not above where Dreams Descend. That's being very dramatic. It takes me back to like a simpler time of reading. So yeah, it was a cute book. Next up, we have When Night Breaks by Janella Angelis. I gave this one the exact same rating I gave Where Dreams Descend, but I did actually enjoy my time reading this one a lot more. It answered the questions that I had for Where Dreams Descend that really impacted my enjoyment of that book. So it definitely is thank you for your time, but it is going to be on the lower end of that because ultimately, I mean, like I said, I just felt the exact same way as I did for the first book. And honestly, it had the same format as the first book. So it's like, what really did you bring to the table? I mean, it answered the questions that I had, so that was great. But format wise, it was much the same as the first book. And yeah, that's just, I don't know, it just feels kind of like, I already read this. Like, even if it is good, like, even if it is a good story, like, I've already read this, so what's the point of doing it again? Cool. Next up, the final book. Oh, thank goodness. I'm excited for this. Oh, let me just stretch, get it over with. Oh, yeah. Final book, White Smoke by Tiffany D. Jackson. I would not die on a hill for this one, but absolutely thank you for your time. You absolutely scared me. Solidify the fact that Tiffany D. Jackson really is that bitch. You're all just scrambling to try to get on her level because wow, just wow. She hit a whole new genre and still knocked it straight up out the park. Like, wow. To be Tiffany D. Jackson for a day. We should be so lucky. Okay, we should be so lucky. Where do I put this though? I'm still trying to figure out my relationship with being scared and if I'm okay with it. I would put it above The Taking of Jake Livingston. Yeah, I think this is a good spot for it. I thought it was going to be harder to decide. I thought I was going to really have to be like very analytical with everything and be like, well, the writing in this one really spoke to me in this way. But honestly, when it comes to me feeling very passionately about certain books, like, it was easy. It was easy to realize what books I felt very strongly towards, which books really changed me as a reader. It really impacted how I see the world and truly left its mark on me. Alright, and there we have it. I don't know where to click. Okay, and there we have it, you all. This is the lineup. So I guess, first of all, I am not all that surprised that the majority of the books that I've read this year or in the year 2021 actually align and thank you for your time. I really enjoyed reading this year. I mean, to the point where I created a booktube channel just to discuss the books that I was reading and how I was loving them. Also, to no surprise to anyone, I'm quite an easy reader. Like, just bring me joy, make me smile, or make me cry, or make me feel something. And thank you for your time. Like, exactly how I feel about most things. I am, however, very surprised at how many books are in I Did Die on this hill. I did not know I was so, like, ready to defend so many books that I've read this year. And, like, granted, again, it's not the majority of the reads that I read this year, but they're still really great reads. And I really would passionately debate with anybody about, like, how much I love these books and, like, really passionately speak about each and every one of these books. So, yeah, I meant it with my full chest. Let's find out what my top 10 are. To no surprise, Ace of Spades, number 1. I am so shocked. I am very surprised at what made top 10 and what didn't. I don't know if I just can't, like, I don't know if my depth perception is off with, like, looking at this, but I thought I was in, like, this territory for my top 10, or maybe, no, I know it wasn't this far, but I thought maybe, Shadow of the Wind had made it. Oh my gosh, but no, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I mean, actually, Shadow of the Wind does make it because Darius the Great and Darius deserves better. Like, those are the same thing. Like, I feel the exact same way about both books. They count as, like, one place instead of, like, that taking up two. They actually take up one spot. So Shadow of the Wind is actually my 10th favorite book of the year. Still very surprised that, like, looking at these two, or even Wicked Fox, seeing that that's not on, like, how I feel about those books, seeing that they're not in my top 10 of the year. It's like, how? You're still so great. I like it's on I Die on the Hill for this book because I love the book that much, and yet it still doesn't count as my top 10. Alright, and there we have it. That is my ranking of all the books I have read in 2021. Like I said already, it just gives me such a warm and fuzzy feeling that I not only enjoyed so many books, I really enjoy storytelling. And no matter how the author chooses to do it, whether it's character development, world development, or whatever, I just always find myself very entranced by it and very, like, involved in the story somehow. And so yeah, it's easy for me to enjoy a book. I love that about myself. I love that I love reading and how much joy it brings me, and it's nice to see, like, on, like, physically seeing just how much I like books, just how passionately I feel about books, and that for the majority of the reading that I did this year, like, it is the most that I've read in a very long time. I think ever. 116 books a year. Like, I don't think I've ever done that before in my entire life. So this is the most I've ever read, and I enjoyed most of everything I've ever, like, I read this year. Like, I'm just so proud of myself. It's just such a warm and cozy feeling to have now. So yeah. Okay. Well, with that being said, if you enjoyed this video, if you enjoyed my face, my extraness, go ahead and press that like button down below and press the subscribe button and bell notification if you like to be notified when I upload. If you would like to stay connected with me as I would like to stay connected with you, go ahead and follow me on my social medias linked down below. And if you would like to support this channel further, I will have my Coffee and Amazon wishlist linked down below as well. If you would like to leave something down below, go ahead and leave the... Let's leave the, like, confetti emoji. Oh, wait, there's, like, a multiple. I meant the one that's, like, a cone and then it, like, pops out. But if you want to do the one that, like, trickles down, that's fine, too. So leave some confetti down below. For celebrating. It is a new year. We got great reading done in 2021, and hopefully we will have amazing reading in the year 2022. With no further ado, I believe that is everything, although I am probably forgetting something because I always forget something. But, bye guys!